With the recent releases of Dead Cells and Hollow Knight, it's been a pretty good year for indie games. Sundered is up next, a Metroidvania game coming out in July by Thunder Lotus Games, the guys who made Jotun, which was a great game. I think Metroidvania games often get the "oh, here we go again" treatment from many, but they certainly have a dedicated fan base. I have to admit I'm not one of those players, but I do appreciate the genre for what it has to offer, so I believe these impressions will be useful for a wider demographic of fans simply than just superfans of the genre. Keep in mind this is not a review, this is just first impressions based off about 5 hours of gameplay. So right off the bat, yes, this game looks pretty fucking good. It's a simple game, hand-drawn and designed with an interesting aesthetic. Vines, greenery, and waterfalls contrast the red tunnels, sharp corners, and robots living in the dimly lit underground. It's a game of color, yet restraint. One of the greatest things that I think Metroidvania games have perfected lately is the use of layering between the foreground and the background. Foamy water sprays up and slowly crawls up the screen as you jump, climb, and navigate among the caves behind the waterfalls, sharp rocks, and vegetation. Vines and sharp, creepy plants jut out in front of you as you fall further and further into the world of Sundered. I do appreciate the minimalist design here, and I think it works pretty well with the subject matter. You play as a wanderer named Esh, trapped in this ruined world for reasons unknown to the player. Your only option is to just keep going down and try to get out. So that's all you get for exposition. There's no intro cutscene, there's no dialogue, no tutorial, outside the integrated text prompts that are stenciled into the walls shortly after you begin the game. The thing that sets Sundered apart is that the gameplay is actually based off an event system. The world is empty, you're free to explore at your will, but eventually enemies will spawn as an event is triggered. Clearing these small events will increase an internal value within the game code, and once that value passes a certain threshold, bigger hordes are allowed to spawn, so the more enemies you clear, the harder the game gets. Some encounters though are required, and the game will bar you from escaping said room, such as when you activate story or environmental objects, such as batteries to power certain areas. We're talking really hard fights. This game is not easy, it's intense, it's fast-paced, and it's frantic. I have to say that I'm on the fence about this event-based encounter system in Sundered. It's fun at first and exciting because you never really know what's around the next corner or what you're going to run into, but a few hours in I did find myself getting annoyed that I couldn't really control the flow of the game because there was this degree of randomization even though I could leverage it by just skipping the small events. But you earn points and coins that go to a massive skill tree and upgrade system by killing those enemies, so you're kind of incentivized to kill every enemy and smash every container. But the more you kill, the harder it gets, so there's this weird clash between wanting to simply advance in the game without dying, so ultimately you have to pick your battles. Is this a strategic element that elevates the gameplay experience, or just a bad side effect of event-based encounters? I'd lean more towards the latter. Now, the world of Sundered has some amazing things going for it as well. The atmosphere and the music are breathtaking. The game has this kind of peacefulness that you don't find typically in video games. The sound effects are spot on, and the game makes great use of sound cues for hidden items. But unfortunately, the level design in Sundered doesn't match up to the music. Although it is beautiful, I found many rooms and areas recycled over and over and over. It feels big for the sake of just being big, not for the sake of being unique. It's not uncommon to clear a room in this game, advance 10 minutes, and find another room that is identical to it. It kind of results in this fatigue as a result, and it dampened my excitement just a little bit. However, I've only traversed the first 2 areas of the game, so it could be different in future levels. But the same does apply to enemies as well. The enemies of the Red Underground were just reskins from the previous jungle zone with the same attacks. Granted, there are some additional enemies thrown into the mix, from suicide bombing robots to giant laser shooting titans, but I was a little bit disappointed to see so much repeat use of both rooms and enemies. As for the gameplay, I think it's just fantastic. It's slick, responsive, and very simple, but once again, a few missteps. After 5 hours of play, I have yet to unlock any abilities, moves, or attacks outside the basic weapon you get upon starting the game. The sword itself is extremely basic as well. It's just a one button, mash the button combo string kind of game. However, most of the combat encounters require just as much dodging as they do actual fighting. Large events and boss rooms are insane. Just have a look at this encounter. Yeah, it's one of those hard as hell games. Precision is the name of the game, and dodging, so I assume this is why I've yet to find additional weapons or abilities, because it's just kind of a simple game that leans just as heavy on exploration and dodging. But after 5 hours, I really expected a little bit more. The customization that you do get, though, is based off of that giant skill tree that you can fill up at Sanctuary every time you die or fast travel back to. The golden shiny coins that you pick up from fallen enemies or find in caches go towards mostly passive abilities like increases to health and shields. However, you can find shards to insert into the skill tree to activate additional skill paths and abilities. But from what I've seen, it's just more passive things, such as a higher chance to pick up potions or gold from enemies. I really hope that there are some awesome abilities that get put in later into the game, but right now, nothing so far. So that's it for the basic systems in Sundered. It's a simple game, maybe a little bit too simple from what I played. It's hard, beautiful, the overall execution is great, but the features and gameplay seem a little bit lacking. But there's still some time for the developer to really enhance the game. So I think it's going to be a pretty good game for fans of the genre, but for everybody else, I'd grab Dead Cells or Hollow Knight instead. Thanks for watching, guys. If you enjoyed this video, do me a favor and hit that thumbs up button for me, it really helps. And subscribe here for more of our future content. You guys have a kick-ass day. We'll see you in our next video.